The first is a John Milton quote from Paradise Lost. He said, "The mind in its own place and in itself can make a heaven of hell and a hell of heaven." So absolutely clear when we see the inner game, how this works and the dynamic in the mind. And also it maybe gives some secrets as to how it might affect the outer world. Secondly, this is a French writer, Voltaire. "It is difficult to free fools from the chains they revere." So quite interesting to see the aim of yesterday's story, to get Sita to realize that there is a game, and that sometimes the wish to better the devil you know is one one aspect, that the habituated thinking, and we sometimes go for the familiar, the comfort zone, but the game realization that Sita is actually incredibly powerful. She is the one feeding Ravan and has the option to experience the original life with Ram and that divinity, her own truth. But also that situations that come are a chance to score. So empowering with all the deeds from yesterday. Perhaps you could type anything that you would like to highlight yourself, and any insights, questions. So on that note, I hand over now to Prashant, and very warm welcome. Come back.
Thank you. And these are very powerful, especially Milton's quote in it. It is such an essence. Mind can create heaven of hell. It can also create hell of heaven. If Ravan is in charge of the mind, then you get one result. If Ravan is removed, you get another result. So let us create another few minutes where we become friends of the soul. And for this, we mentioned we need the best sight, best intellect. If we use wrong intellect, then it favors Ravan. We need the best intellect in this. In today's practice, we will be having 4 steps. And today we might take a bit longer. Time will go in explaining. But in 4 minutes, 4 steps. Step 0 is we choose the posture. And during this time, preferably not multitasking, creating that focus. Body comfortable. See that there are no distractions like telephone and things of that kind. Step 1, we are just seeing the invisible traveler with our spiritual sight. In this invisible traveler, we see this traveler in the image of a tiny star. Just as you may be having a tourist in your town, and you see the tourist, and you know he's from a different town, different place, different country, and you know he's just visiting the place. He has an exit. You just feel in a in the same way when we are seeing this invisible traveler, we are also seeing that he is from a different world and he is temporarily here. He has a guaranteed exit. That's step one. Step two, the invisible traveler is seeing this world. We are grasping the perspective of the guest. Invisible traveler is seeing this world, this moment, wherever we are. So he's saying this town is great and nice and people are nice, but he has the exit. He knows he is from a different world. Exit is very clear. And as a result, he has no interest in getting stuck here. He is not planning to claim things here or buy things, own things. That is not his priority of the invisible traveler. For him, the exit is guaranteed and obvious. He is aware of his world beyond. And as a result, he knows that he is never a victim. He's got nothing to lose. No one can steal things from him. No one can deprive him of anything. He's just the invisible observer. And he is the invisible traveler. And once the victim is removed, the noble personality takes over. That's why guests always appreciate everything more. So also he finds this moment is a gift. And he finds the next moment is a gift. Some sound appears cheerful, and the body appears like a gift. He doesn't want to claim anything because he doesn't want to get stuck. He has a journey. He wants to see the next experience. He's very happy to come, happy to live. Invisible traveler, appreciating every moment. His life is of appreciation and gratitude. Step 3, the traveler knows this is a temporary experience, that he is a guest. But now he realizes he is a guest in a story world. What he is dealing with is a fictional reality, story reality. Big drama, maybe very convincing theater, but for the invisible traveler, it is obvious this is a story. For this minute, we see it in that attitude that it is a story. 100% of it is a story. What is happening now, whatever someone is saying, doing, it is all happening in a story. For this minute, we see it that way. And then what happens? We find it is a great entertainment. This minute, what an amazing performance. And certainly there is nothing to complain about, nothing to worry about, nothing to crave for, nothing to cry for. During this minute, we'll also feel everything of the past. It was also a story, no different to camel and elephant performance. And the same thing applies. There is nothing to think about even. Leave aside trauma or worries or criticism. There is nothing. Auspicious feelings. Step 3. Just a minute, but we are seeing it in a radically different way. Step 4. The invisible traveler comes beyond the story. And beyond the story is silence. There is no noise of the story. Complete silence. Different experience. Beyond the story is the real world. It is not everything is a story. No, there is the real world. We see this world in the image of the sky. World of complete silence. World of stillness. The home of the invisible traveler. Home of everyone. The true home. Secure home. We realize that temporary story is never anyone's home. It is like an absurd situation to live in that story. We realize this. The invisible traveler understands that the truth for everyone is beautiful, immensely beautiful. All have a home, eternal home. All are safe. All are noble. All. It is the innate personality of everyone. Universe is positive. And then there is this extra gift in the form of the story. And as a story, it is a great story. We just realize we have to see everything the right way up. As we continue on our journey, we remind ourselves the beautiful truth of everyone. Thank you. I will use the board as always. Start But before that, you might like to say anything, you want to add anything. These 4 steps that we spoke about, you will get a written version of it. And it is good to go through these 4 steps. I feel step 2 is a important step in this. Step 1, we are just seeing the soul, essentially. But step 2 is a shift of consciousness. The soul seeing this world without mixing it. So there is Prashant and all this is going on. Ego lives in that story. So when we give birth to the ego means we have crossed a line. And that a drop of consciousness has happened then. And we can make ego-based effort, spiritual, different meditations and all. That is, they are not aiming to shift, bring about a shift of consciousness. But here, our aim is to get out of this ego consciousness and let the soul become conscious. So step 2 is strategic, where the invisible traveler is seeing this world, seeing everything, including Prashant talking here. Invisible traveler is seeing it. In step 3, he says, this is all theater going on. We have the option to see it that way, not to wait until I have a proof that it is really a theater. Start seeing it, you take the benefit of it. 1 minute you see it like that, you get benefit. Yesterday there was question of trauma. Everyone has got something in the past. We all got some history. But what happens the moment you start seeing it, even for 1 minute, properly, and during that 1 minute, see it fully, the story, as story. It heals the past also. And that is good. Otherwise, we hold on to some things unnecessarily. And then you are free to get on with life. Once the present is fixed, it has power to fix the past, because the glasses change. The way you look, what kind of glasses you are using to change. Yeah, any thoughts you want to share?
The question I'm grappling with the aspect of Raz. So that's the secret significance in the context of understanding the Ram and Sita story. And that is that it is a self-deciding mechanism. Could you expand, please? Is the question clear?
Yeah, sure. You know what we are meaning there is it is in the context. Some ask the question, someone is having some problems, someone is not lucky, someone has some health problems. Is it God who is doing all this? This is a question that comes. And some religions might take that position even. Some philosophies might take a position, different explanations why things happen. But in this model, this is like a very inbuilt mechanism. Each one is playing a game. Each one gets a score. And based on the score, you get prizes, you get penalties. How you play the game, that decides what prizes you should get, what penalties you should get. If you win, you get prizes. If you lose, you get penalties. Very fair system. And that's what we were meaning there. Each one plays the game. That's how you decide. It is not someone else decides. Each one. I have the choice how I play the game. I have a choice to get prizes. I have a choice to become completely free from any penalty. And each one has a choice. But one thing that we need to know is there is a game going on. That is the thing. So it is possible we may be so confused that we don't even know that there is a game. We are in the game and we may lose the sight of it. That's why that word Raz is subtle, but we need to understand. Just like, say, in this nature and law of gravity, there is gravity, there are laws of thermodynamics. They were always there, but there are some, we call them scientists, but some individuals who understood, okay, there is this law here. And once you understand the law, you can take benefit of it for your life. We created cities and we created civilizations just by understanding some secret of nature. That is also Raz. It doesn't come, the law of gravity doesn't put a board, I exist, but someone discovered that something like this exists. So also here, this game exists. Once you understand, you are in a better position to win the game. And this law also says, Raz, this game, no one can bypass this. This is like an absolute law. Like in an ordinary way, someone can rob and escape justice. That can happen. You can go to Brazil, go to another country, hide somewhere. But this game that we are talking about, this is such a game no one can bypass. There is absolute justice. So it is good. And that was a question one time, is there a justice? And yes, at this level, there is absolute justice.
What are the roles of relationships, both intimate and in general, with this model? It's just a part of the role on the stage and another head of Ravan?
Yeah, sure. What we saw in our earlier discussions, that when we come in that ego-based life, and we come into this world and we cross that line, then we are helplessly selfish. That is the nature of Ravan. Ravan's department starts once you cross the line. And that insecurity starts. And Ravan has no morals. Ravan can go to any level. And we can pretend to be all nice, but bottom line of Ravan is 100% selfish. Such is the nature of Ravan. We don't say that is the nature. Our innate nature is noble, but Ravan is insecure. Insecurity makes him selfish. So the relationships from that position are built on a very weak foundation. They are singing. There's so many songs on love everywhere, but the foundation is not solid. The same person, when he is on the other side of the line, He's secure. Game changes completely. He knows something, something immensely important. He knows he himself is immortal. He knows about his home. He knows he's lucky deeply. That's why we use the word noble. And when anyone knows of this side, he's secure in a deep level. He knows no one can deprive him, no one can harm him. So he cannot really dislike anyone. Even if there is some problems are going on and someone is planning things, he will be thinking of benevolence. Such is the nature of each and every one. If they are on one side of the line, they are secure, and one personality comes up. When they cross the line, they are insecure, other personality comes up. And so this person loves. He doesn't necessarily singing songs, but he loves. And that love is authentic. And we all are in relationships. We can't escape relationships. Right now, we are related in some way in different contexts. If you are going in the town, you are related to people, in some way. Some are friends, some are neighbors, some are relations, some are born, some are in different relations. In this personality, he loves everyone. And the different kind, so someone is your mother, someone is your father. There are always different relationships. Someone is your partner, but in those all relationships, there will be quality. Love will be authentic. He will be zero selfishness there. Virtues will be authentic. When we cross the line, something falls, unfortunately, and we ourselves don't enjoy it.
Yeah, thank you. I hope it helps. I'm happy to hear the follow-up thoughts on that. Maybe one more question. What if I'm tired of playing and just decide to sit back?
Sure. What happens is, and when we are talking about Ravan and ego gets bored, ego, because his whole energy is of complex energy. When one is in that, let me come to, when one is insecure, insecurity takes the form of emptiness sometimes boredom, sometimes feeling tired, and as we mentioned in the various times, uh, sometimes needing things, all this, but insecurity presents as emptiness. And that is that is fatigue, compassion fatigue, burnout. And behind that is insecurity. When you are in the soul conscious space, these factors are not there. You don't feel, I don't like this. You enjoy the silence, you also enjoy the chaos. There is a drama going on. It's a total chaos, cacophony. You find it, that is another scene of the drama. That is the way it is. You don't feel exhausted, and you don't feel that those feelings that are coming from Ravan, those feelings are not there. Other positive feelings, enthusiasm, enjoyment, those feelings.
Yeah, thank you. So there aren't any other questions right now?
Yeah, sure. So now we'll come to another subject of today. And in essence, we can call it understanding the subject of karma. And let us see how we are trying to understand this subject of karma. We saw at various times that we come in this world, experience many things, and we go back. We have a home. What we are doing really we are in the world here, and our host is nature. I'm just using this word nature in a very broad sense. There are magazine, a science magazine called Nature, and the word nature is used in philosophy, science, biology, but there is no definition. There is no one very clear definition of nature, but we all know at the same time what it means, and that is okay, But this is fine. We will use this word nature with that broad meaning, and we are in this world, and there are factors, around us. But one thing about nature, the big statement we are going to make here, and the statement is that nature is our friend. Do you agree? And if you agree, on what ground do you say nature is our friend? Have you got any evidence? This is just a random statement. Nature is a friend. If you say nature is
Looks like nurture, by the way.
nurture, okay. Sorry, I should write it differently. Nature.
Yeah.
The spelling.
Nature provides, it feeds us on many levels. It gives us air to breathe.
Good, very good. One reason I can say nature is a friend, as some of you replied, we are alive. That itself is because of nature. Of course, our health system is amazing, and I don't disagree with that. But we are alive because nature has got such complex mechanism to keep us alive. As an example, if I was to cut a finger, in fact, I have cut a finger, I got a plaster here. The same second mechanism starts to heal it. Microsecond. And there are complex reactions. You want to make a clot, there are different steps, different chemicals need to come in a sequence. And then there is retin network, and then the skin is formed. Healing process starts straight away. And this mechanism of healing is happening in our body all the time. There are these trillions of cells all over, doing so many things, complex things. And there is a mechanism to fix things. Many things are going wrong at so many places, but we are alive. But enough to know that nature has a mechanism to keep us alive, protect us, and prevent harm. That's why friend. But nature is also a friend of bacteria. Nature is also a friend of mosquitoes. Nature is also a friend of plants. There are different ways nature is working to protect, preserve, and promote. So that's good. Nature is a friend. If nature is such a friend, why do we have pain? Nature is also giving us pain. Why? If nature is a friend, there should be no pain. Then I can be happy always. And also pain comes in the form of sorrows also. Why is there physical pain? Do you want to tell?
It's a message to us to tell us something is wrong. Feedback.
Yes.
Nature views creation and destruction equally.
Nice. Okay, so here, the nature gives a message. So if I was to put myself in danger, nature wants to protect me. If grandmother was there, grandmother will tell me this is dangerous, don't go there. But if there is no grandmother telling you of the dangers, nature's mechanism is to give pain. That's why children or adults, they are protected from danger just by pain. Animals are protected by pain. No one is telling them this is wrong, this is right, but pain protects. We don't do things that are dangerous. And even at a physical level, we got many times more pain receptors in areas where we are more likely to hurt, like tips of fingers. Thousands of times more pain receptors compared to some other parts of the body. And so it is, and this is the way we are made, and it is to protect us. Now, this takes us to another level, and that level is why are emotional pains? And the physical pain, I can understand that even at a physical level, there are pain of nausea. If something is poisonous and something not good for me, for the body, there will be nausea. Smell will make you, and if you do take it further, so you will be sick also. For bad smell, just bad smell, it tells you don't go there further. It is dangerous for you, not good. Animals, they know what is poisonous from the smell. No one, there is no one to tell them, teach them what is poisonous, what is not poisonous. One person, patient, he went to Scotland. He was taking chemotherapy, and he with the family went to Scotland. And that particular month, there were these midges, and they are tiny insects. And they come at a certain season. And he says those midges were biting everyone else, but they were not biting him. He was a bit surprised. What is the reason? No, they were not biting me, but biting everyone else in the family. And these midges knew if they drink his blood, they will die because he has got these medications in the bloodstream, and they avoid. They got very few neurons, these midges, but they still had sense to avoid him, and were drinking blood of everyone else. So this nature is giving us the signal, and nature gives through pain. The question was why there is emotional pain. Can be any kind, within relationships, all kinds of pain that we have, stress and
Maya is one answer. Emotional pain tells us that we are in the story and not in our truth, to teach us that our map of the world is incomplete, to correct the self emotionally, maybe expectations when we are out of balance was an earlier answer, but could be emotional balance. Unconscious of the reality that it is a story.
yeah, very good. In other words, if you cross the line, then you are breaking the law of nature. To come in the story is not a sin, right? And as we mentioned, you are a guest. If you are a guest, be a vulnerable guest. Say anyone's house, you are a guest. The people want to be very nice to you. The people want to give you the best. Be the vulnerable guest. But if I start claiming things over there, then they will call the police. Because you are breaking the law, and then the penalty comes. Something similar happens. If we are guests, remain a guest, we can remain vulnerable. The moment you start claiming things in that temporary world, then the nature sees this as you are breaking the law. And the mechanism of pain starts. And pain will continue until I change the posture. It's like physical pain. If I'm in the wrong posture, nature will give me pain. If there was no pain, I might break the bones, because there's nothing to stop me to go in any posture, funny posture. Then you break the bones. But because there is a signal of pain, you don't go that far, and then that protects you. That protects your bones. And so we are using this image. If you stay in the right posture, there is no pain. In the same way, in a metaphorical way, stay in the posture, right posture. The moment you cross that line, you are in a wrong posture, and then it will bring pain. The different kinds of pains that exist in the world, including physical illness, and they are 100% of this different complex machinery of pain is there to give us a signal. Sometimes messages are more complex. For example, some illnesses may be telling me my lifestyle is wrong, or my diet is wrong, but we need to be sensible to understand the message and then to change the posture. You get people sometimes, and like I remember one lady, she would say, maybe such and such a thing is not good for me, because if I first take one spoon, her stomach feels a bit uncomfortable with it. Just that spoon is in the mouth, she feels uncomfortable. But then she eats other things and she's okay. But first spoon, she notices that body is telling her this is not right for you. This is very clever. Those who are receptive to this, those who don't block these signals, those who try to understand from the early signal, that is intelligence. But you understand, then if you stop, then you prevent many bigger pains. If I ignore it and eat some other things, then that message gets dulled, and then body has to give, nature has to give a bigger pain in the form of bigger illness. And then whole thing becomes more complicated. So far so good. Let us come to another kind of pain. And this pain, the name for this pain, do you want to tell which pain we have missed out so far? Another kind of pain.
Mental pain. I suppose that's a bit like emotional,
Mental health, okay. Yeah,
emotional, spiritual.
sure. Any other?
Begins with MIS by the looks of it. Emotional, intellectual pain.
Here we are talking about misfortunes. Misfortunes that exist, we see that they are also pains. We don't want them, but they come with the same mechanism to, if I'm in the wrong posture, then they come to put something right, to give us a signal, give us a message. So let us see how these misfortunes come and what is going on here. We saw in our discussion, one discussion, we said if you were to use the selfie, and if this, your camera has got a app to take photograph of your mind, you will see something like this. Remember this? This camera will take photograph of all your false identities. We also said when we all start, we start from a position like this. If I am a vulnerable guest here, if I am the invisible traveler, this physical world is not our world. If that awareness is very, very immersed and zero bondage anywhere, he has not crossed the line, then this is his natural state, inner state. And that is represented by this image. Now he has not gone in a wrong posture. He is in the right posture. But then, he's involved with the world, he's involved with the job. People treat him as a professor of mathematics. And in time, it is possible if 100% of people are treating you with a certain job and they completely ignore you as an invisible traveler, then you might start to accept, yes, I am the professor. Bit like you are playing the part of the camel and everybody completely ignores Peter and they just see camel. Then you feel maybe I'm the camel. Somehow that is, you adapt to this environment. Herd is never wrong. This is our one principle. We join the herd, join the crowd. So here, one reason or another, you give birth to this identity that you are in the job that you are doing. Now, nature sees it as a wrong posture. Why this identity based on, and here we use the word professor, it could be anyone, can be the president, so you created an identity based on some job, temporary job. And nature has a mechanism of pain. Nature starts the mechanism, and this mechanism is aimed to remove that ego that you have created. what kind of pain will remove the ego? So he has created the ego based on the job. What kind of pain will remove the ego? Do you want to tell? Pain in the leg, will it remove the ego? Nature is quite efficient, and I should underline this. If I do something with my left arm, if I touch left arm in fire, I don't get pain in the right arm. I will get pain in the left arm. And the same thing here. So if I create an ego based on the job, what kind of pain will remove that, will give me the signal?
Getting fired, losing the job, depression, pain in the mind.
Yes, losing the job. Yeah. And because you have created here wrong posture, but identity is based on the environment. You are creating an image of you based on the world outside. And it tells you that your mind literally invites situations towards you. This law is saying this. You and your mind invites situations towards you. That bubble that you see here, that bubble indicates the situation that is coming towards you. And the situation may be that the job doesn't exist anymore, the department doesn't exist anymore, and you are left with this big ego, and there is no job, there is no department. And that kind of situation will force the person to drop that ego. So this is one example, ego based on the job. Another person can create an ego based on relationships. I am the son of some clever person, or I'm the wife of a famous person. Create an ego. And the moment you create this identity, it invites the bubble. And bubble is, it will come from the environment. And environment is that other person either lives or changes, or things change, and that forces the person to drop that ego. All identities have their tailor-made bubbles. We use the word, what is the word we use for this bubble? In Sanskrit, the word is vinash. And vinash means destruction. And these are the forces of destruction. The vinash forces take birth the day I create the ego, but doesn't mean they act on the first day. Nature has patience. Nature stays with it, and gives me chance to work it out, drop it myself. But if I don't change the posture myself, sooner or later, it comes the limit. It starts to act. It cannot be pushed beyond a limit. It comes a time when it starts to act. And then it is too late. Then once it starts to act, then one is learning through pain. We said at one of the early sessions, humans, animals, whole lot, we learn either through pain or through wisdom. And there is no third way of learning. And here the pain mechanism is there. We have the option to understand some of these things and drop this ego beforehand. We have the option to change the posture through wisdom. Or sometimes with just a signal. It's a small little pain, or you see someone else doing something wrong, and you say, yes, I should not do that. So that is like learning quickly through wisdom. If I do not learn, then I have to learn with a bigger signal and bigger pain. And you want to add anything, say anything? Anyone has got any false identities? Anyone got ego? Anyone got Vinash forces?
Yes, the answers are coming in. Someone was asking about any written literature, and I know that this is laid out very clearly in the book In Search of Truth, so we can share the link for that when we do the roundup. So yes, it's hard to accept it as ego. Big empires have fallen. Different comments.
Yes, what happens is when there is a time where people are in that higher consciousness, and but as the ego takes over, then game changes. There's a nice saying in English, pride comes before the fall. What this law says, pride is the cause of fall. It is not the pride comes by chance before the fall. Pride brings the fall. So these Vinash forces are tailor-made to each identity. They will not be, if someone creates bondage in relationships, problems will not come in your health. Problems will come in relationships. If the bondage is created, connected with the senses, body, then problems will come through the body. If the ego is created based on wealth, problems will come in wealth. I'll give you one example. Do you like to hear some stories? The personal experiences. Anyone want to hear?
Oh, very much.
Yeah. Gossip time. But I'll tell you one good case, of a friend. So today I'll tell you stories of others. So this lady, she was a long time ago, she said she was a student in Cambridge. And she's doing her studies, and suddenly she discovered that overnight she has inherited unexpectedly millions, and that includes land, houses, business. So someone wrote a will, and she was getting all this. And she appointed one of her relation to look after this, and he does things well. So her millions are increasing every year. So she says she created ego. She uses the word created ego based upon this success and based upon wealth. And she's giving employment to her friends. And so things are going well. And she says, after some years, possibly some 10, 15 years later, some problems, like some policies change, governments change, European Union things. So now she finds she has to deal with banks, and there are different banks involved. And then there was bankruptcy. Things were going so bad, she was bankrupt. Means now these 8 banks, they came in, they took away everything that she had inherited. She lost a whole lot. And then these banks were, after a small flat she had, before all this inheritance. So they were after that flat. And she says she's struggling. That she was very depressed, very unhappy, and body was also suffering in some way. And it went on for another 6 months. She says during all this time, she would be borrowing money, because her style was such that she has to maintain that style. And she says she was embarrassed to tell anyone that she is bankrupt and she is not that rich lady. She would avoid, meeting people because she has to talk about all this. One day, she says she was in her balcony, and on the pavement on the other side, there was one homeless lady. And just as she was sitting there seeing this scene, she gets the thought, tomorrow, if I receive another letter from the banks, I will give them the key and I will join this lady. I will start my life again, fresh, homeless. To join that lady means I am going to be homeless from tomorrow. And she said, that's great, freedom. I'm going to be out of this situation. So that was a relief inside her. I don't need to pretend anymore. I don't need to borrow anymore. It's okay. So she calls it ego death. That is the word she used when she was describing. So what was happening? There was this ego that was created, rich lady, and that Vinash forces were there connected with that. And these Vinash forces were getting bigger. And now she says, she decided, I'm not that rich lady anymore. I can tell everyone, my friends, I am homeless. So that was a relief. And she went to bed. She says she had a good sleep for the first time after many weeks. Next day she wakes up, she felt good about her health also. But what is interesting, her observation, within the next 2 weeks, she receives letters from all these 8 banks telling her that they want to help her. That was fascinating observation by her. She goes back to these banks to find out when they changed their position. She wanted to know if any of these banks, they took a decision before that moment. And she finds that they all changed the mind after she changed her mind. Their position, for different reasons, all the banks were giving different reasons, but all 8 have changed their position. And it really shows how we are influencing this world in a big way all the time. Not in a superficial way. It is not that she was thinking about the banks, but all she did was changed the ego there, the blueprint, changed what was happening in the consciousness. And then there was no need of the Vinash forces. If you change the posture, nature doesn't give you pain. As long as you are stubborn in the wrong posture, nature will continue to give pain. Same here. If you drop this, there is no reason for pain. And we all will see many examples of similar kind in ourselves. But now you see the connection. And our success will be to see the subtle identities that are there. Any the discomfort we have, we use the word misfortune or Vinash forces. Any of these Vinash forces, they are there. There is a seed. There is something behind it. And if we have to remove that, what is behind? At a practical level, how do we do this? practical level, the game is very simple. I don't need to analyze all this. What kind of Vinash forces, what is the cause? I start working on the truth. Let us come to the invisible traveler. Since that is the truth about me, let me create time to nourish it, make it stronger. And as that gets stronger, all these other identities will continue to become weaker. Every minute you are spending in the higher consciousness, that will just remove the lower. And with that, all these different Vinash forces will continue to become less. This job has to be done, and we have the option to do it with wisdom.
One question. Did she recover financially?
No, it was they didn't take her flat on auction. That is the success there. But the bigger fortune that she couldn't recover. That was not the aim. That had gone.
How do you differentiate between Vinash forces and punishments from the rest of society? I don't know what is meant by punishments from the rest of society, but
Yeah. Whatever that is coming to us, it is within the limits of this law. And I like to see it as nature's message rather than punishment. And if someone may be thinking of punishment even, but if I am in the right posture, that will not reach you. It is a law is like this. If you are in the right posture, if you are, let us say, if someone is 100% in this awareness, and there is none of these false identities, then no one can punish you. It is as absolute as that. They may have intention also, but it will not reach you. But if I am in the wrong posture, no one can protect me. That is on the other side of it. Because the nature's law is that it will come to give me the signal message.
it's fascinating. Very, in a way, comforting to know that we just need to work on the posture. I feel the quote, pain is inevitable, but misery is a choice, could be helpful here as well.
Yeah, nice.
And do we really ever stop learning from some signal of pain? Is it just that the pain signal gets less?
Yeah, we don't, nature doesn't want to give us pain indefinitely. The pain comes, but if you change the posture, then there is no pain. Say for the day, you may be doing many things that you don't need to get pain and learning all whole life. No, you can be spending time, but now and then when you are in a wrong place, the pain will come. So at the moment we are in a wrong posture. At the whole society, our human race, we are in the wrong posture, and it is good time we should change the posture.
As we get older, we tend to experience more physical pain. Is this a signal of wrong identification?
Yes, we are in a wrong, we are in a downward spiral, and more time we spend, we go further down the spiral. So our direction is wrong. It is so, but if we change our direction, as you get older, you will get healthier, and you will be the one with less pain. It is just a question of changing the direction.
A question: if something in the family is unacceptable with others or inappropriate, and we think it's because of us or connected to oneself, and we feel guilty, is it a sign of being in the wrong posture?
Yes, any feeling of guilt or sorrow, it means sorrow. There is something there. As was said, if you are in a right posture, then there is different. Life is going on. Society is like that. Environment is of all kinds. Different personalities all around. But one who is in that higher consciousness, he has a different experience. He experiences silent appreciation, doesn't get into conflict, doesn't get into guilt and all those kind of things. Blame and guilt, that is more in a way across the line.
The option to create a minute to see a different view. Change of posture, does it mean change of attitude?
And change of attitude will happen, but being the guest, and at a deep level, change of consciousness. Also want to say, let us say a person has brought about certain changes in him. He has created lots and lots of these false identities, and the Vinash force is there. And if he dies, say at a certain point he dies, what happens to all these Vinash forces and all these false identities? What happens? One person has brought about big change. He's like this, and other person dies in a state like this. This knowledge says that the journey of the soul is not limited to just one birth. Invisible traveler, he has a journey. Journey continues. Reincarnation is very much part of this model. And whatever is created in one day, say I create certain habit today, it goes with me to tomorrow. I do not start next day fresh in a good habit or bad habit. It continues from today to tomorrow. Same thing happens from one life to the next life. And that also explains that when we say children, not all children are starting fresh. Lots of us, we go from one life to other life, and we bring all our past with us, including the Vinash forces also. We take it from one life to the next life. And some of these Vinash forces may start to express right from childhood. The journey continues. There is no, death is not an escape from any of these things. Good impressions or wrong impressions, they both continue with us from today to tomorrow.
Sometimes you emphasize the forces of fortune, and that's very encouraging that posture shift now will also be guaranteed to go with you. So focusing on that.
Yes, I want to just add this part, what Sarah mentioned. Just like there are Vinash forces, when you are in this consciousness, true consciousness, based on truth, it invites different forces. We use the word forces of honor. And you become lucky. Vinash forces makes one unlucky. Here you become lucky in every area, every aspect. So there are different forces. We use the word forces of honor. They don't happen just by me desiring things. That is not the program here. The program here is internally at a deep level. You are free, you are clean, free from any of these false identities, free from ego, free from Ravan. If anyone is free from Ravan, you are lucky. And it will literally express in your life. You will find you are lucky.
So we could create time for discussion now.
Yes.
Okay, one possible question or two questions. What message of pain have you experienced and how would you interpret them? How can we change the posture quickly and be serious about it before pain comes? Would you like to add anything to that?
No, that's good.
We just pop that in the chat. And
question is, has anyone got ego? That will be my question.
yes. So, okay, questions there, and enjoy the discussion. And when you come back, we've got a guest speaker today joining us from Canada. So looking forward to that. So see you soon. Thank you. Hello, warm welcome back, and I think everyone has arrived. I guess what is said in the room can stay in the room. It's a very personal subject, actually. So good to have the chance to share. I hope you had enough time. We just create just a few moments together to pause before we move to the next section. Thank you. Thank you and welcome back. You'll see we're joined by our guest speaker. Let me introduce you to Eric. Eric Larest. His background is worldly life, is in journalism, working for CBC Radio Canada for the French services. And alongside that, a special interest in spirituality for past 35 plus years. And he's acting as Canadian coordinator for Brahma Kumaris. So I'm very happy to be welcoming you on the first day of the year. Very auspicious, and be great to hear your inspirations on the subject discussed or anything you care to share with us. So good afternoon, I think, to you.
Thank you, Sarah. Hello, dear Prashant Bhai, everyone in the room, big room, and Happy New Year to each and every one. Thank you for inviting me, and very happy to be in your company. It's nice. I've been listening a little bit, and yes, Prashant has always been puzzling our minds with, questioning who am I and where is my ego and where is Vinash going to hit me next. So I walk on the street wondering if I'm going to meet Vinash on the corner somehow, if Vinash is going to be nice to me in 2024. I told Vinash,
I mentioned your speed for translation. Just
oh, that's true. Sorry. Yeah,
no problem.
That's true. I forgot about translation. Usually I'm the one asking for speakers to go slower. And so, yeah, I'm, maybe my speed is the Vinash form for translators. I don't know. Now, if you are aware of this Vinash force, you see it everywhere, and you wonder, what's my relationship with the force of Vinash? And I tend to develop a friendly relationship with Vinash. And I heard that concept from Prashant many years ago. I've been mentioning it to a lot of people over the years. So I owe you maybe a 10% on my wisdom, Prashant Bhai. You'll tell me if there's a force I can use to pay you for this share. And I laugh every time I get a new car, because you told us one day that, if you're attached to your new car, you can expect Vinash to come and scratch it or just do a little thing in it. And we read a study that apparently most of the scratches happen in the first 3 months or 3 weeks, can't remember, when people buy a new car. Because when you buy a new car, you are so attached to your new car that you only see in your mind no scratch. Means you see a scratch with an X on it. So you're actually making it very easy for Vinash to design the perfect pain that will come and crush a little bit your ego about driving a nice car. If you come out of your brand new Volvo or Mercedes and you have that attitude of being possessed by the spirit of the beautiful car, and you have a royal way of moving around your car because you are the car, you are this brilliant person. But when your car gets damaged and it has like a black eye, you come out of your car much more humbly and more discreetly. You don't do a big show about it. You don't draw people's attention to it. So I have a very concrete relationship with Vinash. And one of the interesting, and it's been very useful model, as you call it, and I will never thank you enough, Prashant, for making that model clear to us. Because once we know that this is how it works, then we create a healthy relationship with Vinash. We accept it. And then we use it as a mean to redirect our ego And I was in a situation at work when one day they told us that the show I was responsible for was being canceled and was removed from the air. And it was a time of, budget cuts. So most people were very affected, and it was a shock. It came as a surprise. We're in a meeting room, and the big director of the company was announcing it, and it sounded more like a funeral, event than anything else. So I was quickly thinking, Eric, careful. If you are attached to this show, you're going to feel the pain associated with, like it was mentioned earlier, if I am the role, then I get fired. And yes, that's the Vinesh Force. So I was trying to be very nice, and I was trying to smile during the meeting to make the atmosphere more easy. But the big boss thought I was making fun of her. So she thought it was sarcastic smile. I said, no, I'm just trying to keep it light here a little bit. It's a little bit heavy. But I found myself for 3 days having to fight this Vinesh Force. And I knew the concept, but I couldn't pinpoint where really it was hurting. And when I realized that I was really having deep in my subconscious self this identity of I am a producer, and this show is my show, and I design it, or I transformed it, I invested a part of me in it. So by killing the show, they were basically killing part of me. And it took me a little while, to know what to do with it. How do you transform that consciousness? So even if I told myself, oh, I'm not a producer, I'm not the show, still it was not deep enough, to change it. You have to emerge a higher awareness of the self. And one of my practice at the moment, which I really enjoyed, and it was actually a beautiful experience this morning in meditation, the awareness that in I, not the producer and not the Volvo and not the blue, sweater, or not any of this, whoever that I is, to me in the morning it's like a hard drive, and it has a lot of information in it. And somewhere in that drive, the real I is very clearly defined, and it's there. There's a very perfect, accurate recording of my true identity. And I just need to access it on that drive. And yesterday I was trying to fix something on a computer, and a bit complicated, but I was trying to find where are the folders hidden on the drive. I was there searching, no, there must be somewhere, but I couldn't, find those files. But I know they're on the drive because they appeared on the cloud. So there must be somewhere. And it really, I think, triggered my meditation this morning with this excitement of, if I could just access this file, which is there, and I can experience it and be it and enjoy it, that will be the identity I want to hold on to, because it frees me from any other limited identity, which are basically, some forms of ego. I would say for me in my journey on spiritual transformation, of course, ego is the main battlefield, but the most fascinating one, because I've been really thinking these days that what's the most important thing to invest? If I had to invest money, I'm zero in that. I won't even go into stock market, or I'm terrible. So I'm not good in finances. But spiritually, if I had to invest time, energy, where would I put it? And lately, my personal reflection is I would invest it in my consciousness. And I know consciousness can be defined in different ways by different people. And there's the conscience, there's consciousness, it's different. The awareness is another thing. And sometimes we talk about the subconscious self. And my personal way of seeing it is that my consciousness is the atmosphere that I create in my inner world, which is a perfect expression of who I am at that moment. In the same way that if you see the background on this Zoom, I would say every single object in my apartment is defining me as Eric. And I created in my physical environment a space which is the expansion of me, Eric, my role that I'm playing. And in my inner world, I think that with our thoughts, with our emotions, with our beliefs, with our desires, with so many elements, we create an inner world. And it would be fascinating if we can visit people's inner world, you know, like we can walk into someone's apartment and say, oh, it's very interesting, your place. What would we see in our inner environment? And that inner environment is what I would call my consciousness. And it can change. I can decide tomorrow to remove all the frames and the lights and put something else. But I would do so because something changed in my life. So my consciousness to me is where I want to invest a lot of time and energy. Because I find that if my consciousness becomes higher, more from a higher perspective, it's not the consciousness of I, the producer, which is like producer consciousness, or the consciousness of my physical body, body consciousness, but the consciousness of who I am and who do I want to be. And I find that the consciousness can be, you know, have different layers, a different state of elevation. Maybe I don't know how to translate it. If I'm just concerned about which kind of cereal I'm going to eat, and that's all I'm thinking about the whole day, well, I think cereal consciousness is not very elevated. Maybe very good if I'm owning a company of cereals, maybe that's good. But if I'm thinking of my original self, where I'm coming from, who I want to be in the world, what do I want to give to everyone, I think it rises the consciousness. And then the consciousness can be strong, powerful. It's like in my apartment, there are smells. I'm obsessed with smells. So I burn incense. I have, you know, these little bottles of oils, burn them. So it smells good. It smells strong. So my consciousness can become very strong. And a strong consciousness will protect me from the influence of other elements. But my consciousness can be also stable, which is the most important factor, which means regular. So for me, it's been my personal, I would say, new toy in my spiritual amusement park. And I found this toy of consciousness. And I know Prashant has a much more refined way to describe it in a model. But I like, for me, my inner spiritual environment. And my conscience is when I'm connected with my consciousness, because most of the time our consciousness is not even conscious. If I'm a producer conscious person, others may find me very producer, TV producer conscious, but I may not realize that I'm a little bit arrogant about my status at work. Oh, I'm not producer, I'm executive producer. This brings you ahead to a new dimension. If you are executive producer, that's much more interesting. Vinash is more interested in destroying that as well. So yeah, this is my personal reflection on the ego journey in short. And I would say for me, my main field of negotiation with Vinash is to bring new elements in my consciousness. And Vinash has to bow. You know, when Vinash sees that my consciousness is in the right spot, Vinash usually tells me, congratulations, but I'm watching you. And don't think you'll be safe too long if you do a little mistake. So I think that was the proposal, right? To be short and I don't know about sweet, but certainly short. And just come and say hello to all of you and entertain you with some Vinash side effects in the field of media. And yes, to wish all of you an amazing journey in that inner world, which is the most fascinating one. And thank you again for making me part of your wonderful session. I really, really enjoy listening to you and wish you well for this new year. And my motto at the moment is let's focus on 1 month at a time. So I wish you a wonderful month of January. And let's meet at the end of the month to see about February.
Thank you for sharing your inner environment, and it kind of shows a lot of happiness, which is the aim, I would think. And I realized the poster you have behind you is also telling a story. You have the same one in the office here of the man in the lighthouse. He seems to know what he's doing, even though this enormous wave taking over.
And you know, it's a fast 1 minute. Maybe it's I don't know if we see it well, but it's a man who lives in the lighthouse. And the lighthouse is actually where I'm from, in Brittany, in France. It's called La Jument, which is like the female word for the horse. And it stands quite far in the ocean, which was difficult to build. And it is one of the most photographed lighthouses in the world because people live in there. And they took picture from a helicopter. And the man is at the door, and this massive wave is coming both ways. And the next photograph is him very peacefully closing the door, and the water, comes out. And I invite Prashant to show us some possible bubble. What is the man saying? Darling, did you see the dog? Or, darling, did you bring grandma back inside? Or you can have very entertaining thought, And what I did when I showed that, I had that picture for the last more than 20 years. It was in my office at CBC. And every time someone will come in the office and they will see that picture for the first time, they will exclaim something. Oh, it's so scary. Other people would say, is it a lighthouse or is it a submarine? Another one would say, oh, it's a fake picture. And I realized everyone's first thought was so representative of who they were that I started writing down those thoughts. And I have a document with about 25 sentences, the name of the person. And I find it it's a very good image to use for, how do I translate a simple fact based on my ego?
Absolutely. We see the world as we are. Ascension of consciousness was one reaction, so that's a good sign.
Yeah.
Thank you, Eric. And Prashant, you can tell your caption if you like.
No, Eric, very nice to see you, and it's very nice that you said how you see well defined that original consciousness. That is what we all need to know, how to see that well defined.
Thank you, Doctor. I'll be mindful of that. Greetings to you personally for a wonderful year, Prashant.
Yes, same to you.
Thank you, Eric. And yeah, good luck month by month. I really like that. That's manageable. I was thinking 3 months at a time, but 1 month is even better. So I will see if I can find a snapshot. We're having requests to see the picture. So Prashant, any final thoughts for this session? And maybe also homework is good, or some focused practice. It creates a collective energy.
Maybe if anyone has any questions for Eric, or any general questions. I know we have almost reached the time, but we can create some time for some questions.
Questions are about the picture at the moment, also about the worldly work, CBC, but we can, any gratitude at the moment, seeing any other questions apart from what is your caption, Eric? You can share that meanwhile.
What is mine?
What is your caption for the picture?
Means what I would say when I see it.
Maybe now having the consciousness that you are experimenting with the true self.
Oh, not the picture behind me.
I think so. I think it's about the picture behind you
The
again.
picture behind me, for me, has been telling me a deep lesson, is that you can have the most brilliant light in your head. If your foundation is not strong, it's absolutely useless. And we tend to think that the lighthouse is the most important part, is this beautiful light the whole world can see. But the yogi will be aware that the foundation is the most important part. And for me, it's been always a reminder that don't get lost into the brilliance of your ideas, but see where they come from. And I know one of our teachers in New York is very often telling us, don't distort truth, when you perceive it, because the ego will tend to, how to say, embellish or wrap it up with something artificial and alter it. Truth is very simple. So my original identity, when I meditate, I like to think that just actually having the awareness of my eternal nature, that I don't belong to matter, so I don't belong to time. So can I create the awareness of being eternal, which means not being aware of past, future dimensions? And I find that this is very fascinating. And when I come out of that awareness of being eternal, I think that my way of interacting with people, my attitude, my vibration is very, very different. I like that.
It often feels like everything is so simple, but we need to become simple enough to see it. So I think that's helpful checking, like notice when we're adding something like I'm doing right now, but one just the intention probably behind someone has typed, he could really relate, attached to corporate senior role, and when I left it was very challenging for my ego. Yes, so it's good, it's playful, isn't it? We notice it, but it's like the dance, because we have the option to observe and change the posture. I think that's my encouragement.
And you see, at the moment, I just retired just a few months ago, and I knew, that there will be side effects to change the identity. And I have to admit, for the first 2-3 months, when people will ask me, people I don't know. So what are you doing? And to be very honest, I was a little bit thinking, am I going to say I'm retired? I felt like I'm going to say out loud, I'm a loser. Yeah, well, what about you? And I was aware, you know, of the residue of my identity based on my profession. And even though I've made effort to be beyond it, when I retired, then you have no choice. So what do you say? You are still a producer because I don't want to give that up. And it's true, I'm still a producer, but I'm not producing. Do I say I'm an ex-producer with CBC for so many years? And so I find that every time this question is asked, what do you do? It's fascinating. And I've used that question to ask myself, you know, how do I connect what I do with who I am? And if I do the other way around, then it becomes very interesting reflection. Who am I? Therefore, what do I do? And so I've tried to shift. And what I've been telling people is that as a person who physically retired, I'm searching for my new golden thread, which will be, in my opinion, the final one in this life, to lead me to my little nothing, where there's everything, but it's a little thread, a little golden thread that gives meaning to everything I do, where everything I do gives no meaning at all to who I am, if that makes sense. But I'm learning to think the other way around and enjoying that little search for the thread that will tell me finally that, yeah, don't get caught up between the doing and who you think you are. Dissociate that and create a new awareness of my true being by looking at the hard drive and finally reading that file that is not connected to anything I do really, and then live on the basis of that awareness. And I'm feeling I'm getting closer and closer. I'm quite excited actually about it.
I wonder if Eric would like to lead the meditation and for a minute or so. You know, it will be nice if you can incorporate some of the thoughts you shared just now.
Sure. As we talked about the lighthouse, I got the full light. So let me share the light here. And just when we were talking about the light, it came very strong. All right, so just 1 or 2 minutes.
Sure.
Well, I just go inwards. And I just imagine that my inner world is a space where I would like to live. And if I were to see inside my mind, inside my heart, what would be the most important element? And if I had to give a form to that value or that form of truth, what would I see in my inner mind? If I see, for example, a beautiful wave from the ocean, what does it say to me? If I were to see a horse coming and running with the wind, what would it say to me? So in my inner mind, I hear the voice of the soul. asking to be revealed. As if the soul is saying to the mind, let me show you who I am. So I open my mind, I open my heart, I become silent, waiting to hear the sound of Om, the sound of the soul. And I can see what's in my mind and in my heart. Thank you, everyone. Nice being with you. Thanks for the invitation.
Thank you so much for the sharing and for everyone, for translators, Prashant, and we'll meet tomorrow for the last day. So enjoy your experiments with getting into the drive and getting that file, the right thread. Enjoy. See you soon.